Thanks, Mtuli, and Your Excellency, the President, Jim Nangawa, ministers here present, colleagues, welcome to this luncheon, and thank you, Quantum Global, and all the other associates that have arranged this encounter. We don't take it for granted, and also let me thank Mr. Hughes, chairman of the Dolda Hotels, and also currency trader, by the way. So we are talking about currency trading. So thank you very much for inviting us. I'm just going to talk. I want to talk for about 1 hour, but I was given very few minutes to talk. And both Zimbabwe cannot be dealt with in very few minutes, but I shall do so. Our theme is about Zimbabwe is open for business. And what we mean there is that we have too many things. What are we opening up to? We are open up to everything. All investments, and by everyone, youth, women, and men. So Zimbabwe is open to everyone, and this is a country where we need to come and invest. Next slide. The presentation of the slides is very simple. The next, oh, sorry. We just talk about the pride in Zimbabwe, what makes us proud, the environment in Zimbabwe, opportunities in Zimbabwe, and talk about the recent reforms that we are doing, which have been heard about, re-engaging on the debt clearance areas, where we are and where we're going, and the prospects and the conclusion. The next slide, please. I do believe Zimbabwe is the best kept secret in Africa. It has been kept for a long period of time, and this is the time to unveil it. This is why I like the new dispensation. It's like going to Mary, and then the veil is removed. So that is Zimbabwe. So, Your Excellency, what you're basically doing is to unveil this best kept secret. And what is in that veil are the opportunities which we are here to talk to you about. So, what are some of these, the characteristics of this bride, of this person that is being unveiled called Zimbabwe? It's excellent human capital, abundant resource endowment. We're talking about pleasant climate. We're talking about peace and tranquility. Despite all the years of isolation, the Zimbabwe remains peaceful. Despite that we have gone down in terms of GDP, we remain peaceful. The time is now to unveil Zimbabwe. Good financial infrastructure and physical infrastructure, it has remained good. The banking system in Zimbabwe is still as good as it was before. The roads in Zimbabwe are still as fairly developed as they were before. I've gone in many countries. I even saw some stones in the roads of stones of ice and snow in Davos. So I say they are similar, but they damage vehicles in the same manner. The stones also damage vehicles. So what is the structure for our economy? Our economy. The next slide, please. The economy is well diversified, mainly anchored on agriculture, with the backbone of the economy being mining, which bring foreign currency to the economy. We use it to produce goods and services. A well-diversified banking sector, from merchant banking to investment banking to building societies. The sky is the limit. The safe sector is being promoted to ensure that at least we can also improve on our ICT. Next slide, please. The next slide. That's the structure of the economy, with agriculture at 18% of GDP, manufacturing sector at 19%, telecommunications 16%. All what we are trying to do is to grow the economy, to grow these percentages, so that at the end of the day, the Zimbabwe will improve and join the rest of the world. The next slide does show the structure of the exports in Zimbabwe. The main exports are commodity-driven economy. As Mtuli said, with our gold, tobacco, nickel, and other chromes, and other minerals. That's our structure. What this diagram tells you, or this chart, is that we need to diversify the economy away from commodities to beneficiation, so at the end of the day, we mitigate the risk of currency fluctuations and also vulnerability to international commodity pricing. Like now, oil is going down, it's now going up. Those are the fluctuations that we face in the economy. Next slide, please. Inflation. Zimbabwe is a low inflation environment. We started in 2008 with a high inflation rate, went down because of dollarization. We cured the inflation. Overnight, it was cured. Our job now is to ensure that we sustain the low levels of inflation. And inflation is attacked by production. Because as long as consumption is above production, the fundamentals of inflation will be there. And therefore, when you say Zimbabwe is open for business, is that let's increase the production in Zimbabwe, so it is to increase the goods and services, exports, the like. By so doing, we mitigate the risks of inflation. Right now, our inflation is within the SADC benchmark of between 3 and 7%, which is also the African continent benchmark of between 3 and 7%. Our inflation right now is 3.4%, which is lower than most African countries, and we want to maintain that way. How do you maintain it? By opening up the economy and go forward. What are the opportunities which are unveiling? They are immense for everyone, as I said. We have got 40 minerals, of which there are 21 major ones in the country, in the world, of which all those, they are potential for investment. Some of them being new discoveries are there, lithium. The world is going through, other different countries are going to use battery vehicles and therefore need the lithiums for batteries. This is a new discovery. We have plenty of it underground. Over the second largest platinum reserves in the world, together with South Africa. And we're the second producer of ferrochrome in Africa, together with South Africa. South Africa and Zimbabwe have got 84% of chrome in the world. And that's massive investment. That's massive raw materials underground. It will remain underground until you come to extract it, exploit the potentials. Agriculture, vast resources. From joint venture transactions to 99-year leases, value addition, producing for, not only for Zimbabwe, but also to produce in Zimbabwe for export purposes. So the sky there, again, is the limit. In my manufacturing sector, the philosophy there is to do value addition. We are talking about from farm to fork, from farming, diversification, we add value addition to the market. So from farm to fork. And we've got a blend of industries that are based on agro-processing. And this we need to take care of. Tourism, I've invited Mr. Hughes here, that we want to see more of the grand hotels in Zimbabwe. Victoria Falls is open for business, even under the special economic zones. We need to invest in tourism. We haven't done too much hotel refurbishment and investment in Zimbabwe over the past 20 years. And therefore, we need the hotels now. So because we've opened up with the Victoria Falls new international airport, flights are coming every day, Turkish Airlines and others, we need the accommodation for the tourists. It's a quick win in Zimbabwe. We need to embrace the change that is there. Infrastructure, from PPP, private partnership programs, BOOT, again, the menu is there for everyone to take. I think this is what I call opening up the economy for investment. There is no one size fits all. The economy is open. Infrastructure, from roads to infrastructure, to dams, to bridges, to electricity, to everything. We've got also the coal reserves, significant. Government still have even the coal reserves, which have been untapped, where you can just come tomorrow, put your thermal power station, and go into the grid, start exporting and use locally. The financial service sector, we are looking at transforming the financial service sector by establishing what we call the offshore financial service center under the special economic zones, so that we open up the economy, we open up a financial service center where people can come and invest and put their funds without exchange control parameters or regulations. So it's an offshore financial service center. This one is a very good center where you can attract capital, and it's a center where you can also attract digital banking, a center where we do believe the world economy is going. In Zimbabwe, we've got 19 operating banking institutions, being commercial banks, merchant banks, building societies, and we've got 150 microfinance institutions. Our financial policies are very simple. We do provide 100% dividend remittability. Since 1992, Zimbabwe's policy on dividend remittability is that 100% you can delimit, and that you can also take your capital out of the country. In other words, capital in, capital out. That is permissible in Zimbabwe, and that is still happening. The next slides. This slide is just telling you about the number of institutions in Zimbabwe. The next one. This one shows you how the Zimbabwe deposits have gone up from as low as 1.3 billion now to 8.4 billion. This is where some of the challenges come up from, because the deposits are going up at a higher rate than the rate which you're earning foreign currency. Therefore, when the deposits commingle with the rest of the local generated dollars, it means that that's why people now say Zimbabwe, you cannot take your foreign currency quickly enough. It's because we are aware that our deposits are going up at a higher rate than the foreign exchange which is earned by the country. It is that mismatch which we do believe can be resolved by opening up the economy to business, so to attract capital, retain it, and manage it. Because if you control the economy, it means even the capital that is inside also wants to get out. So it's a retention policy mechanisms. And therefore I say Zimbabwe is open. So at the end of the day, when it's open, you do your business without the fear of your capital. It's a sound and well-capitalized banking system. Most of the banks, as you can see, and I was speaking to you, BS, at the corner there, that we now need the foreign banks, global banks, to stop de-risking Zimbabwe. Your Excellency, the country has gone through a de-risking phase. Over the past 10 years, we've lost 102 correspondent bank relationships because Zimbabwe was seen as a high-risk country. Therefore, the policy of opening up the economy reduces the country risk for the country. And therefore, it means that the global banks now also have a reason for banking Zimbabwe. Not looking for loans, on to place our money and able to correspond with the rest of the world. They've been very difficult. We suffered it, we know about it. That's why we, as Zimbabwe, we are now open for business, so that we are also looked by any other foreigner, including banks, as a reasonable economy where we cannot be left aside as a pariah state. The assets of the banking sector have been increasing, improving. Next slide. And we are therefore rebranding Zimbabwe. The next slide. In the rebranding of Zimbabwe, we are saying that the new government's trust, which is the new dispensation, which is only there for 2 months, will be able to move mountains to ease of doing business, promoting of special economic zones, which I was talking about here, including industrial parks, including the offshore financial centers, sound market principles and protection of your property rights. We are talking about consistent and coherent investor-friendly policies, because it's very simple to attract the business when the policies are predictable, when you can predict the policy. What you cannot do in life is to cover for country risk, to cover for political risk, but you can cover commercial risk. And therefore, when you talk about the ease of doing business, we're talking about the new policy trust, we are talking about ensuring that we remove that other risk, totally eradication, so that we live in Zimbabwe, which is the commercial risks which can be covered. I was talking about during this morning about insurance. Insurance is to cover what you know, what you're covering. You don't cover what you don't know. So that's why it is very important to have policy consistency. That we are doing. Modernizing of legal framework system for investment, respecting the bilateral investment promotion and protection agreements, BIPA agreements, those want to be respected. That's a good environment for business. More so when His Excellency comes in person and talk about same things, I think we need to get the confidence that Zimbabwe is indeed open for business. The favorable investment policies have been put in place, and there are many which I won't go through, but we want to have a one-stop investment center where when you go there and get all your permits and papers, you can invest in Zimbabwe. I was talking to the Minister of Finance, Honorable Chinamasa, that I was trying to tempt him that going forward, anyone who brings some money in Zimbabwe, say $50,000 or $10,000, we say to the immigration, visa-free. So that at the end of the day, you are real, say it's easy for you come with your money in Zimbabwe. If you come with $50,000, you can do your investments and they'll give you a visa to come into our country, like other countries. That is very good. So he says he was going to look into it and go to cabinet with it. So we are moving easy of doing business. I think it's very good. And we have got a number of free remittances of business. As I said, this is a free remittance. But right now it's constrained by the availability of foreign exchange. That we need to tell each other the truth. And it is that truth which makes us to wanting to open up the economy so that even those who want to take away their dividends can now start off reinvesting their dividends in the country. Because whenever people want to take money from your country, it means that it's a pointer that is not a good investment climate. So yes, we are doing that, and we're also putting in place measures to ensure that those people who bring money in Zimbabwe, it is ring-fenced so that you don't lose your money in Zimbabwe. We don't want to take people's money. Government, of course, is tackling corruption, as usual. And we're also re-engaging with the international financial institutions, since we've got a debt, foreign debt of 6 billion, of which 2 billion is all to the IFIs, which is the World Bank and ADB. We paid the IMF. We have found a solution to clearing the arrears clearance with the support of His Excellency. After also speaking to the IFI's CEOs, including Christian Lagarde, the World Bank, and the ADB President Adesina, we get comfort that the package that is on the table is receiving support from the IFIs. You need relationship with the IFIs to go forward to clear and we need to make an arrangement with the Paris Club, and we're quite happy that we are making progress. Let me go to my last 2 slides, and that what is the prospects for Zimbabwe. Our prospects are very bright. We are expecting growth of GDP for this year, 2018, to be 4.5. And our wish and desire and the prayers with your support as investors is to grow Zimbabwe's GDP between 7% and 8% in the medium term, starting next year. We know that the sky is the limit. We know that Zimbabwe is there for business. And because we are coming from a low base, it's very simple to grow by these magnitudes. In conclusion, let me leave you with my famous Bible reading, Nehemiah 2, verse 18. It says very simple, so they said, us Zimbabweans, but that was in the Bible. Let's rise up and build. Then they set their hands in this good work. In other words, we are saying as Zimbabweans, we have come over here, say Zimbabwe is open for business. Help us to build this animal, this economy, this country called Zimbabwe. As was done by Nehemiah when he was building the walls of Jerusalem. The walls of Zimbabwe needs all of us. Come with your wooden float, come with your bricks, with iron floats, your tiles. Come with your equipment, agriculture, and everything else. Let's rise up. Us as Zimbabwe, we need to build. Help us to build Zimbabwe. I want to thank you very much for helping us to transform Zimbabwe. Thank you very much, Asante Sana, and may God bless you. Thank you very much.